Hello and welcome to the Epic Marketing Show. Today we're going to be discussing the difference between strategies and tactics. Make sure you've got yourself a nice cup of something. I've got a lovely cup of mango and lychee souffle. It's a delicious green tea in this rad iridescent mug that I may have bought myself as a present, just maybe. So grab yourself something too and let's get started. So, strategies and tactics. What's the difference? Well, this is a really important one to know for your business, predominantly because if you're focusing on the wrong one, it could mean that your whole business strategy falls apart. So let's get cracking. Effectively, strategies are a long-term focus, whereas tactics are way more short-term. And the way that we can kind of easily describe this is with an example like weight loss. Let's say your focus is on losing 10 kilograms because you want to be way healthier, you want to feel great, and you want to get back into that dress or that pair of jeans that you wore ages ago. So your strategy might be to be all round healthier, make sure you're eating right, that kind of jazz. And that is your strategy for losing that 10 kilograms. The 10 kilograms is the goal, and the strategy is to be healthy and look after yourself. You might then employ some tactics to help you achieve that strategy. And the tactics may be things like reducing your calorie intake, making sure you get enough sleep, putting some routines in place to make sure that you keep the bad habits at bay, and of course doing things like drinking lots of water and getting huge amounts of exercise. And those little tactics are all individual little things that you're going to be doing that are going to be helping to the overall strategy of being a healthier person so that you can lose those 10 kilograms. So we can put firmly down strategy as a long-term thing. It's a long-term approach to achieving a goal, whereas tactics are short little chunks. They're bite-size. And so they're little chunks of things that you end up going out and doing to help you achieve your strategy. And here's the deal. In your marketing, if you're focusing solely on tactics, that means you're going to be doing things really haphazardly. They're not going to be adhering to a long-term vision, and it's going to be very hard to achieve your end vision and your end goal if you're just doing tactics. What you need to have a strategy in place, like being really healthy, making sure that you're taking a healthier approach to life so that you can lose those 10 kilograms, and then choosing the tactics that help you achieve and stick to that strategy so that you can effectively achieve your goal of losing that 10 kilograms. So when it comes to effectively measuring how you are performing with your strategies and tactics, it's really important to have a few things in place. And generally what we tend to do is we tend to put KPIs in place. So key performance indicators. And KPIs are a way of measuring the effectiveness of a strategy. And a key performance indicator could be something like how much money you made or how much weight you lost by the end of a set time period. The problem with key performance indicators is the fact that they're an after the fact approach. In terms of, there's a kind of the autopsy after you've died sort of a deal. You generally only look at your KPIs at the end of the allotted time period, and you use those kind of reports and that sort of feedback, that diagnosis from the campaign that you've gone and done to kind of look and see how you've done, how you've performed. Keeping to our weight loss scenario, key performance indicators would be used to get on the scale at the end of the week and see how you've performed for that week. The problem is, by the time you've got on the scale, there is nothing you can do for the week that has already passed. If you have not lost as much weight as you wanted to by the end of the week, what you've just got to make sure you do is that you do a better job next week, right? What if there was a way that you could go about making sure that you are actively approaching the end outcome and making sure you're steering in the right direction so that you're much more likely to achieve that goal? Well, there is a way, and we do that with lead indicators. So here's the deal. Strategies use something called lag indicators to kind of measure them. And a KPI is a type of lag indicator. But we also have something called lead indicators. And a lead indicator is another type of measurement that you can use to diagnose where you currently are. So sticking with the weight loss example, we could say that if the end goal is to lose 10 kgs, we could say that our KPI, our key performance indicator, is a weigh-in. So we want to lose 10 kilograms, and at the end of the week, we're going to weigh ourselves to see how we're doing for that allotted time period. But a lead indicator is something that you can do within that week or within that time period to actually measure how effectively you're doing. And we said that our tactics that we were going to be focusing on were things like reducing calorie intake, exercising, drinking water, putting routines in place, and getting better sleep. Okay, those are the tactics that we are going to approach to being a healthier all-round person to achieve our goal of losing 10 kgs. So what can we do to measure, to make sure that our KPI is much more likely to be achieved? First and foremost, our lead indicator for reducing calories is actually tracking the real intake. Okay, we can say that we're going to track exactly how many calories we have on a daily basis, and if we are sticking to a certain amount of calories, then we can say yes, we're much more likely, if we've hit, say, 1,000 calories every day over this week, to have lost some weight than just kind of hoping. All right, so that is putting a lead indicator in, because every day you can see how many calories you've consumed, and that allows you to change course if things aren't going very well. And we can do the same thing for exercising. We can track our exercise. We can track water intake. We can track our sleeping, and we can also track our routines. By tracking all of these things, we can actually measure how well we are doing on a day-to-day basis, which will help us get some accumulative information about how likely it is to achieve the KPI. By consistently measuring and tracking our lead indicators, we can do several different things. One, it gives us consistent and immediate feedback. And that immediate feedback means that we are much more likely to achieve our end goal and stick to our KPIs. That immediate feedback can help us go, right, actually, tracking our calorie intake showed us that we're hitting 1,500 calories a day, and that's not good enough. So straight away, we can take some preventative measures. We can have a look at what our daily food intake is like and make sure we cut certain things out. We can also put interventions in place. Oops, can't spell. So we can put interventions in place when things aren't working as well as we thought they were, or something is going wrong. And this continual loop of preventative measures and interventions means that we are way more likely to achieve our KPIs and get to the point of achieving our actual goal. So if we go back to the analogy of effectively KPIs being the autopsy at the end, we can then say that the opposite of that is the lead indicator, which is a diagnosis. It's like going to the doctor when something's wrong, and then the doctor can then give you a treatment plan, and you can kind of change where you're going to make sure that you get better. So effectively, your long-term strategy is achieving something very specific. But if you don't put little steps in place to actually make that happen, so the individual little chunks, which are the tactics, you're not going to actually achieve that goal. And conversely, if you are just doing things sporadically, so you're just exercising every now and then, and you're not working towards an end goal, and you're not working towards a strategy, and the overall strategy here is being healthier, then you're not going to achieve it. And if you don't achieve it, you're kind of behaving in a very haphazard manner. And here's how this applies to your business. If you're doing little tactics like sending out a campaign, for instance, I love this campaign, by the way, Frank Kern's 4-day cash machine. If you send out Frank Kern's 4-day cash machine and you just implement that campaign, what are you actually trying to achieve? What is your overall strategy? It's not part of your overall strategy. You're just doing it because you thought it was a good idea. And that means that your long-term strategy is going to be suffering because your audience is not going to know what direction you're moving in and what you're actually trying to achieve with everything that you're doing. Whereas if you have a good strategy in place, which is to convert so many people and to get so many people on board, to do all of these things, to have these open rates and yada, 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 then you can go, okay, I'm going to choose the appropriate tactic to help me stick to the strategy so I can get to my end goal. So it's really important to make sure that you do have an overall strategy to help you keep everything in place and keep it all aligned. It's like your framework. And then make sure that you are choosing the correct tactics to help your strategy perform. And then it's vitally important that you don't just rely on lag indicators. You don't just want to have KPIs in place because you won't have the opportunity to tweak what you're doing throughout the process, and you lose out on the opportunity to make it much more likely to succeed. And at the same time, you can't have lead indicators without also checking your lag indicators. So you want to make sure that you have a strategy in place. You want to have the correct tactics to help that strategy perform. You want to have some lag indicators in place so that you can diagnose, you can kind of go through everything at the end to kind of wrap up everything and learn and report on what you've done. But you also want to make sure that you've got some lead indicators in place that are going to help you change direction and steer and make sure that you actually achieve your goals. So it's the interaction of strategy, tactics, lead indicators, and lag indicators that make sure that you've got a super successful business and that your strategy is all nice and tightly wrapped up. Now, I suggest that for every quarter you have a sort of a strategy for that quarter. So you have a 3-month or a 12-week strategy. You choose your tactics for that 12-week strategy. You put some KPIs in place and you choose what your lead indicators are going to be, and you keep on that consistently and report back on it. And that is what we call our 12-week process when we're implementing things on a quarterly basis. So if you want any help with that sort of thing, please get in touch. Let me know how you're going to be using your strategies as your framework, the individual tactics, and what sort of lead and lag indicators you have in place in your business. You can pop them in the comments below. I'd love to know how you're going to actually apply this to your business. If you haven't done so already, please like the video and make sure that you're subscribed, and pop me any questions. I'd love to know what's happening in your world. Until next time, go forth and be epic.